All right, talking tactics this week, we got lucky. Jack's only walked past the office. So we went, come on in, Jack Collison. Talk to us about football, because obviously you've played at the highest levels, scored goals against Man City, scored goals against Arsenal, 100 games for West Ham, and then you've played for Peterborough. Now you're coaching as well. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of questions we could ask you. What I wanted to concentrate on this week is midfield and being a midfielder and how it's kind of changed during your time in the game. I'll tell you, let's go back to the Cambridge days where it all started.
Yeah.
And being a midfielder, was it a lot simpler then? Was it 4-4-2 wherever you went?
Yeah, definitely. As a youngster coming up, I think 9 out of 10 teams played a 4-4-2. It was a popular formation. Obviously, as a midfielder in a 4-4-2, you have to be comfortable doing a bit of everything, really. 2 solid banks of 4 out of possession. Midfielders, you try and get a little bit of balance. Possibly one of you sitting in slightly more, one of you looking to get on and get in the box.
Which one did you prefer as a player?
Probably more getting forward. I always tried to score a couple of goals, and especially at youth level, I found I managed to get into double figures most seasons. But yeah, I definitely think in a 4-4-2, you need to be able to do a little bit of everything as a midfielder.
Okay. And I guess people are playing. You saw Leicester last year win the league with a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
It felt like there was a tweak to the tactics in terms of how they played. But as your career progressed, Zola, how did those guys set up, and what did you have to do as a midfielder at that time? And what was football like at that time? Is it different to now at all?
I wouldn't say it was different. I think you find in football there's always trends. It's always changing, it's always evolving. And as you said, the 4-4-2 totally went out of fashion. Leicester played it last season, and now you're seeing lots of teams play a 4-4-2. Teams seem to put their slight tweaks on it, slight changes, but it's still a 4-4-2 at the end of the day. I mean, for me to play under Zola, one of the best to ever play in the Premier League, he was one of my heroes. I mean, I got to see him play at Chelsea, and I think when he come in, it was just sheer excitement in the place amongst everyone. And I think the most popular system we played under Zola was obviously the diamond in midfield, which is still very popular now. So in a diamond system...
Why did he do that? Why did he put that system in place?
I think he felt he had the players to do it. The type of football that Zola wanted to play as well was also free-flowing football, lots of rotation, lots of freedom. He liked you to go and play without the shackles on. Obviously, in this system, you need fit full-backs who can get up and down, because these guys here, they're providing the width. Okay, you have a defensive midfielder. In Scotty Parker at West Ham, we had probably one of the best in the game. Breaking up attacks, looking to feed the ball into these sort of players, or your full-backs to get you on the attack. So this was where I mainly played for Zola. I was very fortunate. I had Lucas Neal behind me looking after me. If I played on the left-hand side, I had Rita Ilungo, who was also good at looking after me. To play these 2 positions, you need to be fit. At the time I was fit, I could run all day. In the system we played under Zola, we had to be able to get out to the full-backs if needed. But obviously,
so it was your job to press those guys?
Yeah, he liked to get the strikers as much as they possibly could, but they would get to a stage where they would pass the strikers. One of us would have to release ourselves. You'd find the number 10, dropping it there. And if you're playing on the other side, then you have to get yourself in. The worst thing about playing a diamond is if a team switches the ball, because it is, it's doggy. So if you come in here, if the ball gets switched all the way across, this man, the side of the diamond, needs to be able to get out. You'd find him stepping in. You need to recover, get yourself inside the pitch. In possession, though, it's a fantastic formation. It's brilliant, especially playing under someone like Zola. Spoke about you want your team to play with freedom. Lots of rotation. We had licence to rotate in here. You need a clever number 10. We had a few clever number 10s at West Ham. I mean, Mark Noble played it a little bit, played it very well. David Di Michele was fantastic at it. Little Italian, picked up little pockets, often in between the back 4 and the midfield 4. Strikers need to stretch the game, so this man here, if you can get him the ball on the half turn, that's where the danger comes in.
For you, a lot of the time, if the ball started out here, it's up to you to not get dragged in, to almost stay away from the play, because you might not need the first ball, or maybe not even the second ball, but you need to be in space for the third one.
Yeah, you need to work hard on it in the training ground. As I said, the rotations and the fluidity is something that makes it work so well. So yeah, we had licence to come here, provide support for the likes of Scotty Parker, but we also had licence to get in these areas here. And as I said, the number 10 is probably the most important man to make it work in possession. He needs to recognise when he needs to stretch the game, when he needs to drop in here because someone might be filling his space, but he also needs to be clever enough to really provide the passes for these 2.
Is there also something in this position that you played that you have to... Some players like everything in front of them.
Yeah.
So they can be a bit of a quarterback, I guess.
Yeah.
Coming into this position, you've got to be able to sort of Is it different? You've got to take it on the half turn. Sometimes you're in pockets of space. Sometimes you're picking it up here and you have got stuff in front of you. Was that difficult or did that work for you?
We played against a 4-4-2 last week. So a lot of our work through the week, if we take the Blues here, they're in a 4-4-2. 2 banks of 4. The Diamond should kill a 4-4-2 because this man, if he's clever enough, he should find pockets between the 2 banks of 4. As you mentioned, these 2 guys are very important. And you said about playing on the half turn, you don't want them in here because then you're blocking that passing channel. If you can get them to play on the outside shoulders of the centre mids, in between the winger and here, get them on the half turn. If you get a good pass in, they're into these spaces here. If this man marks tight, this man marks tight here, there should be spaces to feed the ball into the number 10. So as I said, the Diamond's a fantastic formation.
Why doesn't everyone do it though? You're saying that should definitely kill a 4. Why doesn't everyone do that?
Because you come up against different formations every week. You come up against a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. There's always different combinations, different formulas and different ways of breaking sides down.
Yeah.
The negative side to a Diamond, if you play against a good team who switch the ball often, if these players tie up or you haven't got a good full-back who's comfortable in a 1v1 situation, it's very tricky at times.
Yeah. Different formulas. A different formula with Sam Allardyce.
Yeah,
I'm guessing the way he played. How did he set up in comparison to Zola, and what did he have you do it?
Well,
did you enjoy playing under?
Yeah, I did. Sam Allardyce, his credentials, fantastic man manager, larger than life character, good to be around the training pitch. And the good thing about Sam Allardyce, you knew exactly where you stood with him. If he was annoyed with you, you would know. If you were doing well, you'd know, and if he felt you could give a little bit more, you would certainly know.
We're talking tactics here, but how high a percentage is that in having a decent team spirit and being a successful team? How much is it down to just knowing where you stand, the man management?
I think so. There's nothing worse than, as a player, not knowing where you stand with the manager. And the good thing, as I said, about Big Sam, on the training pitch, away from the training pitch, in the change room, he would let you know exactly what he thought. And that's a great thing for a player. Good thing is also his football was fairly simple in the way he wanted to play the game. He wanted to play with 2 central players in here, obviously blocking things up, picking up the second balls, which is something we'll come on to. Usually with a big target man up here, this player here looking to get on, and then normally 2 players in behind it. This man often joined the attacks here. The big thing for Big Sam, what you often see, whether it was a full-back, whether it's a centre-half, whether it was a goalkeeper, stretch the pitch into one side. The goal kick or the longer ball would normally go to the big man, to the striker. I often played as a wide man. I wasn't the trickiest wide man. I would never be the sort of player to knock it around someone, do a step over and get a cross in. But I had legs. I was managed to run up and down all day. My job from a longer ball was to try and pin the full-back.
Right.
This man here would try and pin the other centre-half. So this centre-half, try and pin the centre-half. These guys in here would be looking to pick up the second balls. And it was percentage football, a good kick. If you had a big man up here like a John Carew, a Colton Cole, sort of players that Big Sam liked, you would get a lot of success.
And this is Kevin then? Is this Kevin Nolan?
Yeah,
right?
super Kev. He could play either position, but
yeah.
Kevin Nolan had a great knack of just finding little pockets of space. So if we managed to occupy these guys here, you'd often find Kevin Nolan just ghosting through, finding a pocket of space.
Yeah.
A player of his quality of finishing.
Popped up with so many goals.
He knew exactly where to be at the right sort of time. So,
was there any frustration in playing tactics like that?
At times, the only thing I would say that Big Sam often didn't get the credit he deserved for the type of football. I mean, there were games, especially in the Championship, where we'd be a goal up, 2 goals up, and we did knock the ball away, ball around.
Was it more kind of make sure that your starting point to play is further up the pitch
100%.
more than anything?
I think he felt this area here, the defensive third, was a high-risk area. No chances, don't give the ball away. He had no-nonsense defenders in, the likes of Abby Fay, Joey O'Brien, people who knew their job. They were good defensively, get the ball up. He felt if you could get the ball into these areas, obviously the attacking third, 9 times out of 10, if you're winning more second balls than them, you're going to get more opportunities.
Is that the exact same blueprint that you'll see with Tony Pulis?
Would
you say they're exactly the same?
I would imagine it's very similar in certain ways. He's probably a man who looks at his stats, looks at the percentages, sees where the goals come from, what areas of the pitch, and tries to implement that into his game.
Okay. Let's talk about the differences between League One and the Premier League. Tactically, is there any difference? I'm sure you work as a team, you work as hard in League One as you would do in the Premier League, but are there any little differences?
I would say the big thing is Tactically, the players are probably a little bit more aware in the Premier League. They're able to take on more information, and certainly you get punished more. And by that I mean, if you give the ball away in these areas, say you're the blue team, you give the ball away in these sort of areas. If you're in the Premier League, you're giving that away to someone like an Ozil or a Payet. You've got every chance of the ball ending in the back of your net, from a clever pass, a good shot, or a bit of inventive play. Whereas in League One, the players are still very good players, but you might not get punished so easily.
You're a manager now.
Yeah.
You're coaching. What's the perfect formation that if you had every player at your disposal that you would like to play? What's the way that you like to see football play?
It's a tricky one for me. I mean, where I'm still young, I'm finding my feet. I'm toying with a few different formations. I think you need to find the players that fit the formations. So if you've got fast attacking wingers, then you've got to play with wingers. If you haven't, you need clever players who maybe play out wide and come inside the pitch and get in this area here, this zone 14, which is where all the goals seem to be coming from at the moment.
Sorry, was that zone 14?
Yeah, so zone 14, there's a lot of work being done on it now, a lot of the trends, a lot of the research. It's like a second 18-yard box, just outside the other 18-yard box. And I think it's like 60-70% of the goals come from this area.
Wow.
So a lot of teams at the moment are working on how to protect zone 14, whether it's with a one-man screen in it or whether it's with a twin screen, trying to stop the ball getting into zone 14. And obviously on the flip side, you're trying to get your best players on the ball in these areas. So there's lots of different formations. I've been toying with a 4-2-3-1 at times this season, which will be like this. There's different ways you can play it. You can ask these to stay high and wide, but for me, I've asked my wingers, I've put them opposite sides, so I like to play a left footer on the right hand side, looking to come into these areas here, this zone 14, same on the other side. I think it gives you good balance defensively, especially if you can create this box, try and stop all the danger here. The fullbacks still have licence to get forward, and obviously your number 10's got a little bit of a free roll. The only thing I've found where it hasn't worked at times, sometimes if these guys don't get in and around the striker, it can be a little isolated, so sometimes it's hard work. The most common one at the moment seems to be a lot of teams going towards three at the back.
Yeah.
See, Wales have done it so well. Obviously Chelsea more recently, so there's a lot of teams sort of going towards three.
Has that got anything to do with protecting that zone 14 that you're talking about?
I suppose so. I see the main thing coming from a three at the back, I suppose. You need players comfortable on these sides, comfortable enough to come out to defend. You see Azpilicueta do it so well for Chelsea because he's comfortable to come out into wide areas and defend. You also get your balance of your two centre-halves here protecting the central areas as well as getting a two-man screen.
Well, I guess, going on from what you've just said there, that formation that you're working at the moment, if you start with three, if he does have to come over here, you've got that same protection that you had before.
You've got you've got your fit players here playing as wingers. Conte's done it so well with Italy.
Do you think that's part of the evolution, is that players are so fit now?
Oh, they are. It's incredible. Especially the Italians. On my coaching badge at the moment, I've done a lot of work watching the Italians, and these boys here, they're so fit. They're incredible.
Yeah.
1 minute they're up here attacking, next minute they're back in, making it a back five defending. And fitness in football has definitely come a long way, especially in the last 10-15 years.
And I guess one last tip, we're talking about midfielders. Obviously, you're a midfielder yourself. What's maybe one or two, if we're lucky, tips that you would give to any midfielder at any level? What do they need to be good at? What do they need to work at to be a decent player?
I think for a good midfielder, awareness is a big one. Checking your shoulders, knowing what's around you. As we said, if you can get on that half turn, you know what's around you, you know your next pass, you're going to be a good player, good midfielder.
What's the most common flaw that you see in midfielders that you're coaching?
The awareness. If you don't know what's around you, you don't know you've got a man coming on you, you're going to lose the ball in these dangerous areas. You don't know where your next pass is, you're going to give the ball away in dangerous areas. Someone I like to watch and I like to get my youngsters to watch is Tony Cruz. What a player, but he's so clever. You see him just pulling off into these areas here. Often he pulls off into areas as a fullback just so he can see the pitch. It opens up everything in front of him. You need the awareness of what's around you first and foremost, and secondly you need the ability to get in the right positions, to have a good first touch, and then you need the quality to find your pass, because there's no point getting in these areas on the half turn and hitting a poor pass into here. You need to be able to find your men, find your gaps.
Jack, thank you, mate.
No, thanks
Appreciate
for having
that.
us.
Words of wisdom there from Jack Collison. Jack's got a soccer schools, Jack Collison Soccer Schools, if you want to get some more wisdom from Jack. And
happy days.
Head over to that. It's I'm sure you guys have got your website. You got a website or Twitter?
Yeah, both. JackCollisonSoccerSchool.com. Jack Collar JC Soccer School on the Twitter. So yeah, go check it out. Loads going on over the next couple of months.
Brilliant. If you enjoyed that video and what Jack had to say, then please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Give the video a like as well, and make sure you subscribe to Ball Street.